This clip is about the g3 line against the Queen's Indian. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6, and now on move 4, white plays g3. It's one of the absolutely main lines against Queen's Indian. White intends to meet the pressure exerted by black's fianchetto bishop by a fianchetto of his own and then proceed with his development. In the 1960s, 70s, this line and Queen's Indian on the whole was considered to be drawish and rather an attractive opening from the point of view of searching for an advantage for white. After bishop b7, bishop g2, bishop e7, most games proceeded with castles, knight c3, knight e4. Now the main move is queen c2, knight takes c3, queen takes c3. Note the tactical trick here if white plays knight g5, threatening not only the bishop on b7, but most of all mate on h7. Black has the defense, knight takes e2, which wins a piece. So white is forced to retake the knight when black continues either f5 or perhaps even more accurately with c5. Here is quite an easy development. His bishop comes to f6, followed by queen e7. Then he develops his knight either to c6, a6, or even to d7 after d6. And his pieces are well coordinated and he should be able to hold equality. So this line is not very attractive for white. In the following years he found a couple of ways to enliven the struggle and spice things up a bit. Perhaps not to reach an advantage, but to reach positions which promise a more exciting fight. One of these ideas is if on move 7 white plays the semi-waiting move rook e1. The idea is just to let black show his hand. Now the knight e4 sortie is not on the card, so black has to proceed somehow with his plans. The most natural move is d5, which after c takes d5, e takes d5, followed by c5, leads to a complex struggle with black having the hanging pawns. They can be in a set and they can be also quite weak. So this leads to quite a complex position. An even more ambitious try on move 7 is to play d5, sacrificing a pawn. After cd5, knight h4, to protect the d5 pawn, black has to make the rather ugly move c6, and cd5, knight d5, knight f5 gives white reasonable compensation. However, it's still an open question if this is sufficient also for an advantage. Another option for white is to postpone castling on move 6 and play knight c3 immediately. Here, if black castles, then queen c2 prevents the knight sortie, protects the e4 square, prevents knight e4, and gives white chances to fight for an advantage. However, black mostly reacts with knight e4, and here white can play bishop d2. Seemingly innocent move, but it's his best chance to create some confusion on the board. Now, taking the bishop would give white a free hand in the center, and this would outweigh black's bishop pair, which would be limited by white's advancing central pawns. Black's best reaction is bishop f6, with a tactical threat, bishop takes d4. Now this is met by castling simply, black castles as well. Now the usual move, rook c1, leads after black's most popular response to quite a tense position, c5, d5, e d5, c d5, knight takes d2, knight takes d2, d6. Here white, after knight d4, bishop e5, queen d2, proceeds to advance his kingside pawns, which gives him reasonable attacking chances on the king side. However, black is not devoid of counterplay. Black has this strong, unopposed dark squared bishop. He has also possibilities to, after bishop a6, to push his queenside pawn majority, and this guarantees him counterplay. So the position is complex and quite tense.